You know what? We're going to go just a minute, Kathy, to some breaking news. We have a balloon, obviously, that's caught in a power line or a power pole.
It's like a radio tower.
Radio tower, perhaps. And, you know, it looks like it's one of, can you recognize, Kathy, what that is at all?
It looks the gargoyle balloon.
It does look a little, it's not
right
quite
as to the west.
Yeah, just to the west of the field, they have some radio towers. And what we've seen all morning long, the balloons will lift off and they'll circle back around on the field. Probably, wow, there's a good shot. Yes?
Yeah, there it is, right back behind us.
Okay, that's an AM radio tower is what that is. And that's what happens. And so these folks are professionals, and everybody knows about it now, and they'll just, wow, what a place to get stuck, though. Look at that.
And you can see the gondola up there as well. Now, Kathy, you'll probably be talking to the media today about what happened once you figure out what
public safety people have probably initiated all the procedures that
looks like
are
Smokey Bear, they're saying, yeah.
Smokey Bear. And, you know, this was one of the anniversaries for Smokey Bear. They were going to come by and visit with us a little bit. So we hope nobody's hurt. It looks like they are intact up there, and the rescue crews are on the way.
Well, how are you getting them down from there?
I don't know.
I mean, that's a high radio tower, but I mean,
well, I'm sure they
have their procedures, and
right, and it's scalable. I mean, you have to get up there to maintain them.
Right.
So.
Oh, look, they're climbing down.
The people from the balloon.
The people are actually, yeah, they're actually climbing down from the basket.
Well, leave it to pilots. Their emergency training and their innovative thinking comes to the rescue every time.
Yeah, well, they're going to get down. They're going to be safe, and Smokey's going to get out of that tower before too long.
Looks like there's 3 of them.
And probably that AM radio station is well aware of it by now, and probably powering down. And yep.
Wow.
Both crews. And they're going to be, they're going to hear about it from their fellow balloon pilots about their landing area.
Looks like there are 2 people. One's way ahead of the other one. The other one is coming down just below the gondola. And there may be one person still left in the gondola. I can't tell for sure if that's a person or just part of their equipment. But fortunately, they're safe enough to climb down, so it looks like they're doing pretty well. Kathy, this is part of your job in dealing with the media and letting people know what's going on. So this is a busy time for you.
It's a busy time, and we make every effort to be absolutely available to you and everybody at all times. And I can't say enough about our public safety personnel. We have 160 of them on the field, and they are absolutely wonderful first responders. So
well, I can tell you're ringing. You're probably somebody needs you, but thanks for coming by. Well, and just if you can give us more information, do before you leave. That's Kathy Leindecker, and she has had a lot of fun this fiesta, but of course, just as she got up here, this balloon accident happened. And what's interesting about this is everyone on the field can see this. It's just to the west side of the center part of Balloon Fiesta Field. And it is a radio tower.
AM.
Probably over there close to, would you say that's close to 4th Street?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
2nd or 4th Street?
It's probably, it's one of the local radio stations, and it's their tower. A long time ago, this was out in the middle of nowhere, and nobody was... and
we believe that's the Smokey Bear balloon.
Yeah.
And I'll see if I can hunt up and find out who some of those
they're
pilots
are. They're going to have
are.
a lot of tower to climb down, but... They'll be talking about that for some time. But they're safe, they're sound, they're making their way down. I guess they're going to have to do something with a... Do they have cranes that go up that high, or maybe a helicopter? I don't know what they're going to do to get the rest of the balloon down. But the important thing is that the pilot, the crew, everybody on board, they're safe and sound. They're negotiating their way down.
Hopefully we can get over and talk to some of those people who saw that happen.
Oh, by the time they get down, there'll be a lot of
talking to the people
there to help them.
That are the pilots. They're up there. We do know they're safe enough to climb down. Smokey Bear is out of Albuquerque, and according to our brochure here, it's flown by Bill Chappell. Bill Chappell of Albuquerque flies the Smokey Bear balloon. Look at that. There are 2 people climbing down very carefully. Oh, that must be so scary.
Yeah, rung by rung. Yeah, when you're in the basket, I mean, you got this sense of security because, you got plywood on the floor, and you got a nice little... wicker basket that you're protected in. But if you're, I've heard some of these balloon pilots, they say they're actually fearful of heights, but they fly because there's no sensation of the fear of heights with that, because you got a floor for
part of the wind.
You're part of the wind. But boy, this will get your attention.
Right, and it's just shredding that balloon. The wind just continues to kind of shred it after it got caught. But thank goodness that the basket was entangled enough to be stable, and that they could then get on the tower and head down. I mean, they're pretty brave. I don't know. I might have stayed in the basket waiting for somebody to come get me.
I think I'd be shimmying down along with them if it were me, because you know, that's what people do. They got ladders, and it's a pretty doable thing, as you're seeing there. There you go.
And I'm looking to see if we can get any more information on the pilot. But
He
all
seems to have
we
stopped
have
there,
at this
though.
point
Maybe he's
is-
taking his breath or something.
Yeah. What you
Oh, there you go. Yeah, he's just
And
kind
go
of getting
again,
organized.
little by
But you know,
little.
you got a ladder there, and you're taking it rung by rung. And in about 15 minutes, he'll be down, and he'll be
You're
telling
seeing
stories.
shots from Sky 7 as they start to close in on the guys who are trying to climb down, the pilot and whoever was with him in the balloon.
So I guess there's just two people in the basket. Those are the two people
Yeah.
shimmying down, because the shot that we had, the tight shot of the basket, didn't look like anybody else was in there.
No.
So they'll
Isn't
be
it
down
great to have
before
the
you know it.
vantage point of these shots from Sky 7?
That's a great shot, man. You can
really
see
get
everything.
in close, and you can kind of tell where this is. Again, it's to the west of Balloon Fiesta Field, about midway through the field. Looks like it's probably over close to 2nd or 4th Street, not far from the river. And Smokey Bear balloon got caught on the top of that radio tower, and they were trying to climb down off of it now.
Oh, that's good. It's not the kind of ending that you want, but all you really want is for people to be safe, people not to get injured, and that's certainly the case here.
And of course, you can tune in tonight on Action 7 News. We'll have a wrap-up of what all happened.
And maybe the balloon will be down by
Yes.
then in the basket, but I guess there are worse places to get caught.
Wow, look at that empty balloon, empty basket, shredded balloon, and people climbing down off that radio tower. They've already made it quite a ways down, because we can't even see them in that particular vantage point at this point. Well, stick around. We are still going to draw for the quilt and do a few other things. We just want to make sure that you saw this breaking news and know that these people are fine and are making their way down the tower. I wonder how tall that tower is, Joe. Are you better at feet than I am?
Oh,
I
man,
have no
I would
idea.
have to think it would be, I don't know, at least 80 feet. That's about double the size of a air tower.
Right, and it's a little hard to tell from where we are how tall
80
that
feet,
is.
100 feet, something like that. I don't know. The people are coming down safe and sound. Maybe by 6 o'clock tonight, we'll let you know if the basket has been plucked off of that tower as of yet. See, that's what he's doing. He's playing it smart. He's coming down. He's catching his breath. And
Looks like he might have even kind of sit down,
yeah,
down for
I
a
would
few
too.
minutes. Take a break.
Take a break.
Let
There's
your heart
no
stop
rush.
pounding a little bit. You can tell it's not far from the river. You can see the river in the background there.
Yeah, there's a lot of radio towers at the north end of town on the flat valley areas. He might even be talking on the cell phone for all we know.
All right,
But
he's
he's
going to start
continuing
down
on.
again.
Yeah.
Wow. That's the first time I remember that happening in the years. I've seen them go into some power lines and to some highline poles, but not a radio tower.
Yeah,
yet.
and when you do get into a power line, it's just a matter of getting a crane out, getting the thing undraped again, and they get the power off. But boy, I don't know. I don't know how
they're
you're
gonna
going to
get that
crane.
down.
That's up there, man. But they'll figure
Boy.
out something.
I guess there are special crews that actually climb these towers just to do checks or to take care of any problem that might be at the top of a radio tower from time to time. So they may enlist some of those special crews to help with this. But obviously the gondola stuck right up there at the top, and the wind, as it continues to blow, just keeps shredding that balloon. And it may take care of itself in that regard if the wind picks up anymore.
The pilot is thinking, why didn't they just land south of the field? Why did I have to whip back over? But hey, he's walking away safe, so that's good.
Well, hopefully we can bring you some more information soon about who those people are. We do know that it's an Albuquerque-based balloon. It's a Smokey Bear balloon, we think. I mean, based on what we can
it looks
tell.
like Smokey Bear.
Yeah, based on what we can tell, it is Smokey Bear. And the pilot listed as the official pilot for Smokey Bear is Bill Chappell of Albuquerque.
So if you know Bill Chappell, just let them know that they appear safe and sound and no problems, and they'll be off that tower before you know it.
Climbing down. I'm sure they have a crew on the ground waiting for them as they head down. Rescuers on the way. We had Kathy Leindecker up here when this happened, and she's in charge of the media and getting all the information out. So she went to find out a little bit more. Her pager started going off, and
it's winding down for her, but there's still a little bit more Balloon Fiesta work for her yet today. And really, I know we're spending some time here showing you the breaking news, but if you look at Fiesta as a whole, it's been a lot more safe this year than in years past. In years past, we've had opportunities where there's just been one balloonist after another going into power lines, and there really wasn't a whole lot of that this year, but now something new, something going into a radio tower, and our own engineer knows a little bit about radio towers. Tom?
You deal with towers all the time, Tom. Tell us what do you've been up a tower, I suppose?
Yes.
All right. Tell us about what's going on out there from your vantage point.
Well, I don't know. That's the wildest thing I've ever seen, I think. I've climbed up radio towers before, back in the old days. I'm a little worried about the force of that sail. It's become a big sail now, and what that's going to do on the tower. We have years ago, the tower like that has guy wires that hold it up, and they have marker balls on it to mark it for aircraft so that people can see that. I'm not sure that's the case with it. I'm sure it has lights at night, but it's expected that somebody would see the tower itself. It's hard to tell where it got caught from our vantage point, whether it hit the tower itself or just the top of one of those guy wires. I'm glad that they're climbing down. I mean, it's pretty remarkable.
Tom, can you hear us?
Yes.
Can you have you ever had something like this happen that you can remember in the history of the Fiesta? We know we've had some highline poles and that sort of thing, but
yeah, I remember seeing pictures somewhere in the world of a balloon hitting a radio tower like this, but nothing like this has happened here at the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta.
Are the winds picking up? It seems as if they might have started to pick up a little bit in the last half hour.
Well, I would suspect so. I mean, that's sort of natural for the day. The forecast I saw showed that it was going to get a lot windier around noontime. And remember in the old days when there wasn't the grass out here, at almost exactly 12 noon, it seemed like every last Sunday, the wind would howl through and the dust would come, and it got even the late stayers, the ones who don't like to leave, finally all had to leave. I think it's natural that the wind will pick up a little bit.
Hey, so Tom, you were saying from your vantage point you couldn't tell how the envelope was involved in the tower, but what happened is that the midsection of the envelope is draped over the very top of the tower, and the basket is dangling down, and the pilots and the crew member were able to hop out and get on the pole and take that ladder down. They'll probably be down in just a few more minutes, but how are you going to get a balloon down from there, Tom?
I don't know. Sid and I one time were hired to go to Hawaii and fly a balloon up between some radio wires that were strung as a submarine antenna in the Paoli in Hawaii, and we were to go up and fix those marker balls, but that's pretty tricky stuff up there. Have you been able to see if the gondola is moving down?
No, it's still on the cabling. The midsection of the balloon is on the top of the
I just wonder
tower.
if it's going to begin to tear.
No, I don't think so.
The part that's holding it up.
It looks secure right now to me, and give it another 5-10 minutes, the pilots will be on the ground. They're kind of shimmering down the tower. They're resting a little bit, then they'll go a few more steps down the tower, and before you know it, they'll be on the ground. And I haven't seen any evidence yet of the basket looking like it wants to give way.
We've been able to see two of the people climbing down, but we just heard from our producer they were actually three, so we'll keep an eye on that.
There's a third one in there?
That's what they were saying, is that there were 3 people climbing down. I just see 2 at this point.
Yeah. I would guess at some point they would go maybe tie the basket to the tower and get the envelope at least cut loose.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Tom,
to take the tension off.
According to our notes from the brochures that you gave us, it's the Smokey Bear balloon is flown by Bill Chappell of Albuquerque. I don't know if you're familiar with him, and of course we don't know for sure if he's the one who's up in the balloon today.
Well, Smokey Bear has been a big attraction at Balloon Fiesta for a lot of years. This was a newer version of the Smokey Bear balloon.
Okay.
And there'll probably be an even newer one.
So, Tom, you're a pilot.
By next year.
So, Tom, you're a pilot. What's going through the pilot's mind right now?
Well, I'm pretty impressed that they had the good sense to try to get to the tower and get down.
Yeah.
usually you want to stay with the aircraft, but
Yeah, but get off that thing. Like you say, if it starts to give way, you're in a world of hurt.
Yep, and I think they've been very lucky and had to be pretty courageous to get out of that and get onto the tower and begin the climb.
And they made the decision quickly. I mean, they weren't up there, but maybe 60 seconds, a couple of minutes, then boom, they say, let's get out.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't.
We understand that
know what
lifeguard.
might happen next.
We understand that a lifeguard helicopter is on the way to help out. Just, I mean, obviously they're well enough to climb down, but they need to be there in case. And we don't know if there's someone up in the gondola still. We don't think there is.
No, it looks pretty empty as we get that tight shot from Sky 7.
I can't imagine my legs would be very sturdy.
Really?
Well, they're
time I
taking
got
breaks,
down.
so that's good. They're doing the right thing.
Wow.
But it's and the more it's up there, the envelope is showing more signs of it getting torn apart, and I guess that's what you're concerned with. If it continues to shred, eventually that gondola might give way, right?
Yeah, there's aircraft cables that hold the gondola to the envelope itself, and then there's really strong nylon webbing that surrounds the balloon that we've talked about on the show before, so it's able to hold all that weight. But if I just don't know what else is helping to suspend it up there.
Looks secure.
Tom, here on our set, we have one of our engineers joining us, and he's familiar with, dealing with towers and things like that. And Tom, tell us how high you think this tower is?
I think it's around 300, but I'm not sure from this angle.
And you think it's the KOB?
That's what I was told in the truck in there. It looks to be an AM tower, so that's probably live. The tower itself is actually the antenna.
How sturdy? Is this balloon going to cause any problems for the tower?
No, it's guide well, and I don't think it would create any problem unless we really had some horrendous winds.
Now, is there like a ladder that goes up along the side of the tower that they're...
It looked like there was from one of the shots. So they're able to climb a ladder. It's a long way. They're going to get very tired, but it would be a lot easier than coming down the angled braces.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you've been up a tower, climbed up a high tower. That must be one of those things that you don't want to look down as you're coming down.
Well, first-timers get real nervous.
Hey, Tom, we're hearing on the dispatch radio that the rescue personnel are being told that this tower is not grounded. What does that mean?
That it's not grounded?
Yeah.
Then that's what I'm saying. It's a hot tower. The tower itself is the antenna, and there's a very high RF voltage on that tower.
So what does that mean for the person
Well,
on
I'm
the
hoping
ladder
that they've
climbing
turned off their transmitter, or at least before they reach the ground, because that's where they would be in danger when they leave the tower to go to the ground.
We just heard that the tower is 670 feet tall. That is a big tower.
I mean, what can you touch? What can you not touch if it's transmitting?
Well, you can't. If you look in the pictures at the top of the guys where they meet the guy wires where they go up, you'll see a rather fat section. Those are insulators because the tower is actually insulated from the guy wires, and it's insulated from the ground at the base.
So is there any worry when they get down toward the base?
Yes.
So what will happen when they get to the bottom?
It could be a rather shocking event.
So hopefully there's someone on the ground telling them at a certain point
I'm
just
sure
to
there's
stop.
gonna
I
be
mean,
someone
everybody
there
in the
to
city
advise
knows
them.
about it now. So
And
he's probably got a cell phone too. He's probably being
well, I would be
through
fairly
this whole
certain that
thing,
they've probably already powered down that transmitter to make the tower cold.
We can see the lifeguard helicopter has arrived on the scene, is circling around the tower close to where the people are as they try to climb down. 670-foot tower. That's got to be a grueling experience to try to go down that, and you must be just, weak in the knee anyway because of the accident and then trying to make your way down to the ground. Again, if you're just now joining us, this is the Smokey Bear balloon, we believe, and it caught the top of a KKOB radio tower, AM radio tower in northwest Albuquerque, just a little bit west of the Balloon Fiesta field, not far from the river. And the crew on board then started to try to climb down the ladder, which is in the center of this radio tower, to try to get to safety. Lifeguard helicopter has now arrived. This happened probably, 15, 20 minutes ago.
And if you can see people kind of shimmying down this tower. There's 3 of them. and they go a little bit down the ladder, and then they rest a little bit, go a little bit down the ladder. I didn't realize it was almost 700 feet, so they're going to be doing that all the way down. What our engineer is telling us is that this is a non-grounded tower, meaning it's hot, meaning that there's some live wire concerns when they reach the bottom. However, since this is a very public event now, we're pretty sure that all those precautions have now been sewn up, and it's just a matter of getting the 3 of them to the bottom of the tower and off of it.
Any guesses, Tom, how they'll try to get that balloon and gondola and stuff up off there? Are there special crews that climb towers and work on things?
That would be one way of doing it, or possibly, I don't know if they'd have a crane that tall.
That's a tall crane.
Possibly pull it off with another helicopter.
Tom Rutherford was saying probably one thing they'd like to do is go there and secure the gondola, and just to make sure, you know, it doesn't come crashing down, and then I guess you cut the envelope from it, and then it's a matter of unsecuring the gondola and maybe airlifting it off. I mean, how else would you get it off?
Wow.
Unless you could cut all the cabling and just let it fall.
Well, you wouldn't let it fall, but you.
Well, I mean, you not let it fall,
cable.
but you get your straps and you lower it and do all that.
I don't know if Tom Rutherford can still hear us. I was curious, Tom, if you happen to know the weight of the fabric of a typical balloon, how heavy that would be. Okay, I think he's still out on the field. He can't hear us, so we'll try to find that out as we go along. So you think, though, Tom, that the tower is pretty sturdy? Wouldn't have to worry about any damage to it?
I would think it's able to withstand this. They're generally designed for a wind load of 140 mile an hour winds. And,
so this is just a little bit more load it's having to deal with for right now.
And in this instance, there are no separate antennas hanging up there to catch wind. It's just the tower itself. It is the antenna.
All right, well, we are, again, bringing you breaking news from Balloon Fiesta Park. Very interesting event. This is now the 33rd year of the Balloon Fiesta. I've been here for 15. You were here before me, and we've never known of anything like this happening.
No. And if you're just joining us, what the situation is that both ways the Balloon Fiesta got off fine. We have that Albuquerque box in place where the balloons were lifting, they're floating south, and then they get a little bit rise in the altitude, and they catch those northerly winds back over the field. So after all the waves were off, there were plenty of opportunities where it was just a great sight. We had these balloons coming back on the field, deciding to land back on the field. And so for whatever reason, Smokey the Bear was in that box, and he was drifting over the western edge of the balloon field. And on the western edge of the balloon field, you have these KKOB radio towers. And usually, I know it's something the pilots are aware of, because if you go to those pilot briefings, every area of danger and concern is listed, and they're talked about it. So, I mean, this is a known thing at the west end of the field.
In fact, there's several. If you look out there, there's probably half dozen along there.
If you go to the base of the pilot briefing, you have this big old map, and it shows you all these areas of concern. Of course, that's one of them. But I tell you what, all it takes is a little shift in the wind. And
it does feel, I mean, our papers are certainly rustling around a lot more than they were earlier.
And the wind is, I talk about at 1,500 feet, the north winds go back over, but below 1,500 feet, there's a little corridor of wind that kind of goes in an easterly direction, a little easterly component from the, coming from the east, blowing you to the west. And clearly, he found that.
Right. Again, the Smokey Bear balloon, and it started to tear more since it's been up there. That big hole right in the center was not there.
More gaping
when it first hit the tower.
But from what we understand, there were 3 people on board, and immediately they said they made the decision, the pilots on board, to just get out of the gondola, get to the to that ladder, and shimmy the way down. And so that's what they're doing. And it's going to take a few more minutes to go the 600 feet, 670 feet to the bottom.
We have Sky 7 up in the air, and we have also lifeguard helicopter up there circling around. The lifeguard helicopter was close to where the people were on the ladder, maybe trying to get an idea of how they were doing. I don't know that they're trying to get instructions to them yet, but again, I'm sure there's a crew on the ground as well that's going to start to talk with them as they get within range, to shout at them and tell them not to actually step down on the ground until they're sure that they are have everything grounded or taken care of, that
Well,
shut off?
we were talking with our engineer Tom earlier, and he was saying that there is concern because we were told it was an ungrounded tower. I mean, it's hot, meaning that if you step on the wrong thing, there could be problems. But we're being told now that the power has been shut off. So there are no concerns about them getting high voltage, encountering high voltage as they get down. So everybody knows about it. The tower's been shut off, and they're going to get to the bottom, and everything's going to be good.
Right, and fortunately, it looks as if they are trying to take their time as they go down, catch their breath, so that they don't make a slip. David Quinlan, we understand, is at the scene. And we also want to let you know, we're getting close to 9 o'clock, of course, but we are going to stay with this because this is breaking news. We're going to delay our kids programming in order to bring you a resolution to what's going on here, and then we'll go back to kids programming when everyone is down safe and everything's taken care of. But we're going to head out now to David Quinlan, who's nearby and not far from the scene, and see what he's been able to find out. David?
Diane, we're actually at the base of the tower. I'm going to step out of the way. Actually, we count 4 different people right now climbing down the tower. You probably can see there in the red area, there is one person there. Looks like he's being helped by another person. If you go up the tower, we see at least 2 other people making their way down. If you even pan further up, you can see how the balloon is just torn in shreds there. The basket is literally hanging on the top of the tower. So you can imagine just climbing down with all that wind, how frightening that might be. Life crews did, Air One Hospital, or UNMH Hospital's helicopter, I should say, did just arrive. As you can see, I think we see some rescue crews making their way up right now. They've got a P&M truck also with the tower attached to the back of the truck. They will be extending that tower to get some of these people down. But what is just frightening right now is just there's literally 2 people in the middle of this tall tower just trying to make their way down, and I'm not sure if they're climbing on a ladder or if they're just climbing on a little metal bars, but gosh, how brave they are doing this and how frightening a situation this is. Back down here, I want to show you a couple things. You can see from a distance over here, Adrian, I'm going to point all the way down there by those fire trucks. You see a row of ambulance crews, firefighters, sheriff deputies. They are standing by in case something happens. They've got emergency crews out here in case something does happen. Over to my left-hand side over here, I want to go ahead and pan over there by the helicopter, Adrian. And this is the lifeguard helicopter that just landed. And as you can imagine right now, this is very terrifying. We'll send it back to you, Diane.
All right, thank you, David. Again, we want to remind you that we're going to stay with our live breaking news coverage of this balloon accident. Kids programming that we usually have at this time, we will bring you just as soon as we have wrapped up this breaking news situation. Again, we will return to children's programming when everyone is safe and down, but we want to continue our live coverage from Balloon Fiesta Park. In case you're just now joining us, a Smokey Bear balloon with at least 2 people on board hit the top of this KKOB radio tower in northwest Albuquerque. The balloon sort of folded off and tore. The gondola got wrapped up in the tower itself, and the people on board then got out of the balloon and started climbing down the tower. It's 670 feet is what we're told. It's a long way down, and they are going little by little, very carefully down this. I saw one stop a minute ago and just wrap their arm from elbow on around just to take a break and feel secure for a few minutes and then start to go back down the tower again. As David was telling us, there are a lot of emergency crews on the ground waiting for them to get closer down. There are even a couple of rescue workers who are starting to try to make their way up the tower from the bottom to try to help these people get down. I'm sure they get tired as they've headed down this way, but we have sheriff's deputies, emergency crews, firefighters on the ground waiting, along with the UNMH helicopter, which has been circling around, and also some P&M crews that are in the area, just in case there's some power affected by all this.
And earlier we were hearing from Tom Rutherford. He was saying hats off to the balloonists on board, because what happens sometimes is that a balloonist may not want to leave the envelope, may not want to leave the gondola. He might want to just say, well, let's stay and wait for help, or let's just stay and be with the balloon. And the danger in that is that sometimes, as you can see, that envelope continues to tear more and tear more. Now, we know it's made up of cabling, and there's nylon, and there's some pretty strong lines associated with it. But sometimes, and we've seen it before, that gives way and the gondola drops to the ground. Now, if you're on board and the gondola drops to the ground, then that means death is what that means. And so they made a decision early on that we're going to get out of we're going to leave the balloon, we're going to leave the gondola, we're going to go to this ladder on the tower. And I guess there must have been concerns. They probably had to be thinking, is this a hot tower? Is it okay? But
so they were scared to death.
Yeah, so I mean, they probably got a hold of somebody and been getting some counsel along the way, but they're making it down quite nicely.
Well, we now have Gary Garrison from KKOB joining us on the phone. And Gary, what can you tell us? What have you been able to find out?
Well, Diane, I received word from Art Ortega, the Public Relations Director for Citadel Communications Corporation, shortly after this balloon hit the tower at about 8:30 this morning, to shut down transmission to the tower. So at 8:38, we cut the 50,000 watts of power to the tower. And at this point, we're just watching, as you all are, to see what happens next. This balloon obviously has some weight and some mass. I believe the tower will be safe. It is very structurally sound. But we do have winds blowing, and it's a matter of time to see what happens as far as the balloon getting snagged on the tower, how much stress that's going to put on the tower, and whether or not that gondola falls off before they get the entire balloon assembly down. At the moment, we're off the air, and we'll remain off the air until further notice.
So you are off the air. And Gary, we were told it was like 670 feet. Does that sound correct to you?
That is correct.
All right, that's a long way up there.
Yes, it is.
But you did say it's a pretty secure, pretty sturdy tower. Will you have a crew go up and check damage?
Yes, we have our chief engineer on the way out there. I believe he's probably already arrived. And if necessary, he'll call in other people as needed.
What we're seeing right now, Gary, is there's a bucket truck from P&M with a couple of guys on it, and it is able to reach up to where the person who's climbed down the farthest is, and so he's just stopped. The other person, I think, is still just
there's three
up above. There's three that we see. It looks like one's going up.
Yeah,
so,
you stop and think about this. This is an approximately 60-story tower, and it's quite a climb, whether you're going up or down.
Any idea how you're going to get that balloon and the gondola
that's a rescue
down?
personnel going up. Okay.
I have no idea at this point, and that's going to be a matter for our chief engineer and our general manager, Milt McConnell, to try to decide. This is what they call a flowing situation, a fluid situation, and we'll just have to see what our next move is.
Our first priority, obviously, is to get those people down and safe, and then will you have to wait until everything's untangled before you go back on the air?
I believe that's probably the decision that we'll make, but I'm not the person who will make that decision. That will be our chief engineer's call.
Okay.
Well, this thing's coming to a close, at least. We have the P&M bucket truck that is elevated to the point where they're talking to the first person to come down to that point of the now do you see anybody else in the bucket, or is it just
it looks like there's
two,
maybe three people? I think there may be three people in there, Joe. It's really hard to tell from
and we know one thing is that one rescue personnel got on the ladder and is now going up, so maybe there's some fatigue issues with some of the people still coming down from the tower, and maybe the rescue personnel will go up and aid them and talk them down from there.
And Gary, do you know who first called this in? Was it someone from Balloon Fiesta who actually saw it happened?
Okay.
Video. I was watching Channel 7 right after I did the 8:30 news, and that's when I first saw this. And so at that time, I tried to reach our people on site, and then received a call shortly after from Art Ortega saying, "Shut it down. It is our tower," as I suspected it was.
Yeah.
So that's the way that this unfolded. As soon as I got confirmation that in fact it was our tower, we shut down transmission.
Okay, so that's what we have. We have the rescue personnel.
Right.
We saw him going up, so he was talking with the person ahead of him, and now they're both coming down.
And this guy in the black and white checked jacket, we saw from the very top of the tower. That is one of the people who was in the basket making their way down.
Yeah. So we know that we know he's doing well.
And I believe there's still one other person up higher, or is that the
Hey,
one
Gary Garrison, do you know if they're going to come? Okay, so I just got curious. Are they going to walk the whole distance down, or are they going to catch a ride with that P&M bucket truck?
This person up here is the one who stopped and rest and has grabbed on to elbow deep a few times, and the rescue person is about to get up to reach that other
Here we go.
balloonist.
Right. So there must, I guess he's just checking to see What his state is? Is he too fatigued, or it looks like he's strapping him down, maybe, right?
Well, the rescue worker obviously has some extra gear with him that he's using for safety. It looks like he's got
so he's
some
talking.
belts
He's getting
and ties.
evaluated right now, and
Joe and Diane?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, this is an unfortunate event, but we certainly are thankful and bless our lucky stars that no one was hurt in this.
No.
At least not seriously hurt. It's, one of those things that we never want to see happen at Balloon Fiesta. And we're just so thankful that nobody has been hurt.
Well, we wish you guys a speedy return to the air, and in the meantime, we'll try to keep everybody filled in on what's going on.
All right.
Thank you, Gary.
Bye-bye.
That's Gary Garrison, who is with Citadel, KKOB's owner, and the Citadel is the corporation which owns KKOB. They are a 50,000-watt AM radio station. This is their tower, and they are off the air while this continues to happen. You can come on up here and join us, Tom Rutherford. And Tom, we have a better vantage point from up here because we can see all the cameras and stuff, but we've been finding out little bits at a time here.
So
Yeah, you're on.
it looked like that maybe rescue people are climbing
Yeah,
up.
they are.
Yes,
the
they
They're
are.
going up the pole. I think they got one assigned to each person on the tower,
That's
and
good.
they're just kind of talking to them, and it looks like they're working down from there.
Yeah. Well, and maybe get them some climbing equipment.
We heard this
Get
happen.
a harness on them and
Yeah, just to
some
make
ways
it
to
extra
secure
safe. Because
themselves.
it is fatiguing working down 670 feet. My goodness.
I
There's
don't
the
think how scared you'd be when you got
Sure,
just
you're
started.
rattled anyway about the whole accident, and then to have to try to climb down that
But
tower.
Tom, how many times have we seen? It's terrible video though, but I know you've seen it too, where balloons will be caught in power lines. They'll arc, the strapping will give way, and that basket will drop to the ground like a rock.
I think that's why that was, I think,
Yeah.
part of his first
So we don't have to
inclination.
worry about that because they're
But that
safely
part's
out of
done.
the basket
Yeah.
and they're coming down the tower. And then
Well,
now they got rescue personnel with them.
And if they can get secured up there, then that makes that climb much more predictable.
Okay, we're going to go out to David Quinlan, and I guess he's with the crew of the balloon down at Balloon Fiesta Park, west of Balloon Fiesta Park. David, what did they tell you?
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
They're making us move back, so either take us now or we'll have to
Okay,
move
David,
back.
David,
you're
we
on
can
the
hear
air.
you. You're on the
You're
air.
on the air.
We are on the air. Okay, there. Sorry, guys. Well, Sheriff's Department now is moving everyone back. We did speak with someone from the Smokey Bear balloon crew, and they tell us the crew members are okay. As you can see, they have some rescue workers already already up there pretty high on the tower. They are talking, looks
Okay,
like on
there
the
you go.
top there, talking someone down one by one. There's some firefighters and ambulance crews down on the ground. We're about 100 yards away from the base of the tower, and it looks like, and I don't know if you can tell from our vantage point, but the P&M has their truck up there, and they've lifted a tower up there, and I don't know if they're boarding anyone on that little tower or not, but they're really close. As you can see, there are people climbing their way down right now, but we have to move back a little bit. But
All right,
the
David, before you go,
crew member,
did they give
Diane,
you
I'm
the
sorry, the
names?
crew members tell us that the crew members on board that balloon are okay.
Did they give you any names? Did they identify who these two people are?
No, they did not.
Okay,
Not at this point. We're
and
going to
it
try to
is
talk to them a
just-
little bit
Is it
more.
two?
Just two members?
But
Two-
we're still okay. We are still up.
Okay,
But
they're-
as you see, we have to move back here, and this is the Smokey Bear crew over here to my right.
All right.
And as you can see, they are pushing all of us back. Hold on one second, guys. I'm going to see if we can. Have they brought anyone down yet?
They have I think an 8-year-old little boy there.
An 8-year-old
Brought down.
boy?
And I think the other one's like a 12-year-old, 15-year-old around there. That's what they was told. So,
No kidding. So the 8-year-old and the 12-year-old had to climb down that tower?
Wow.
I mean,
How are they?
a 7-year-old man, they were saying. So I have no idea. I have no contact with these guys. That's what a couple of people said, that they're 8-year-old and a 12-year-old. So I have no idea, huh? There's 2 males and 2 young juveniles and an older gentleman was the pilot.
Gotcha. And you got to move us back. Is that right?
Yes, please. 'Cause,
Okay.
we don't know if that basket's it's full of propane. We need everybody back.
How many people were in that basket?
3.
3 people.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay, Deputy, thank you very much. All right, Diane, you heard it there. About 3 people, including 2 young children, an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old. It sounds like they're okay, and they are having rescue crews on the ladder right now trying to get them down. So as you can imagine, some fragile moments here up ahead as they try to rescue these people.
All right.
Diane?
Thank you, David. Tom, one of the things that he was just saying to us is the sheriff's deputy who just came up said they were a little concerned because that basket still has propane in it and it's right next to that radio tower. Is there a possible explosive situation at all? Do you know?
Only if it falls, right?
I would think if it fell would be the only way.
Yeah.
The pilot would have turned off the tanks.
Okay.
So it's in stainless steel tanks. Yeah. The engineer explained that until it gets grounded,
Right.
you know, it wouldn't.
But they turned
Power's
the power
off
off.
right now.
The
so
power's
that's
off
not an
anyway.
issue, yeah.
And so I think I'm guessing they're more concerned if
It might fall.
if the basket
Yeah.
would fall and then it.
And it looks pretty secure. I mean,
explode.
from what we've been able to tell, it's not like it's hanging precariously or moving around a lot. It looks fairly secure. Now, we don't have this confirmed, but you did hear the sheriff's deputy tell David Quinlan that witnesses had said it looked like 2 younger boys and an older man were the 3 people on board. Perhaps they had heard an 8-year-old boy, a 12-year-old boy, and a 70-year-old man. Again, those are just reports from witnesses. We don't have that confirmed. We do have it confirmed that it is the Smokey Bear balloon. It crashed into that tower at about 8:38 this morning. That is KKOB AM's radio tower, 50,000 water. They are off the air while we try to take care of the situation. P&M has a bucket truck that has gotten up close enough to get to a couple of the people as they're coming down, and then we have some rescue workers that are climbing on up as
Okay, now
well.
the bucket's going down, so I wonder if we actually
they've got
had.
somebody.
Yeah, they got
Someone in
somebody
it.
in it. So here's what they're doing. When we first went on with this at 8:30, when we saw it, we saw 3 figures working down that ladder, that 670-foot ladder. We're finding out now, unconfirmed, that it could be a 70-year-old man with a 12-year-old boy and an 8-year-old boy, right?
Right.
And what we've seen is that in the past 10, 15 minutes, the P&M bucket truck went up there with rescue personnel, and they assigned a rescue person for each member coming down the tower. So we saw rescue personnel go up, and you could see earlier when they met the person on the tower, they would get strapping out, they get the harness
Right.
out. I'm sure it's just a reassuring voice to see rescue personnel coming on. And here's the first one that we think. It looks like they went down to the bucket. They
Well, I
put
tell
the
you what,
person inside, and now they're safely on the ground.
if they actually are that young, I mean, that makes my heart stop
I
as a
know.
mom. I can't imagine. I have a 9-year-old and 11-year-old, and I can't imagine myself trying to come down that, much less a couple of kids.
I know, it's up there, 670 feet. But my goodness, you got to move, you got to go, otherwise you'll freeze up. And they didn't do that. So hats off to these brave kids, if indeed that's correct, what we've been told.
A lot of rescue crews on the ground just waiting to take part and help these people get taken care of once they get off of that tower.
And you know, as they were coming down the tower too, I mean, they're all spaced within the same general vicinity. So now that we have one on the ground, apparently, and that's the way it looks, you know, they'll all be on the ground within the next 5-10 minutes.
The engineer was talking to you about the segments of the tower. So do we have an opinion about how far from the top the basket is?
It looks like
it's right at the top. I mean, it's probably down.
what?
Well, so is each
It's at the very
is each
top.
color 100 feet?
Oh,
Did he talk
it's
about
a little
that?
hard to see from here, but right at the bottom of the balloon itself is the
Yeah.
gondola. So
I see the gondola.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I
I'm
mean,
just
if
wondering
that's
if it's-
670 feet, that's probably, 600, what,
That's at
50s,
600 feet, maybe.
Something
Yeah.
like that. So I don't know how they're going to get it down. What do you think? They'll cut the envelope off and maybe strap down the gondola and lower it? That's a job.
We were talking to Gary Garrison with KKOB, and he was telling us, that's just up to our engineers to figure out once
Yeah.
they get to the scene and try to.
I would think the first thing they would do is vent the propane off
Yeah, makes sense.
to let it escape into the air,
Then it'll be lighter to come down.
and so that danger is removed,
Maybe rope.
and then maybe let the parts down
Lower 'em down
a little
little
at
by
a time.
little.
We've seen how these baskets have lots of parts like tanks in them, and instruments
Yeah,
and the burners are
that's true.
separate, and maybe begin to dismantle it, and with some kind of a pulley let that down.
Wow, but who's going to get up there at 670 feet to do all that? I mean, that's a lot of work, man.
The trickier part, I think, is going to be getting the envelope off.
I agree. Unless they
And,
just have to end up trying to cut it and let it float in segments down.
Or get a helicopter involved. I guess you could do that.
Well, that'll be something for you to stay tuned to Action 7 News to figure out, because obviously we'll be covering this story throughout the day, and we'll have a wrap-up tonight to figure out what they've done, how the people are, how they've been able to get the pieces down, and the radio station back on the air.
The really good news for me is that we know there's nobody that's fallen to the ground.
Yep. Everybody's
We know
safe.
that the rescue personnel are there, and the engineers have all assured us that this tower is very sturdy and is not likely to be in any danger of that contributing to any problem.
And
So-
look, you can see the harnessing down that the rescue personnel is doing with one of the remaining members on the tower.
This person has not moved in a while, so either they have cautioned and told them not to, just stay put, or they might have just kind of gotten a little winded and tired and not able to go on down.
But you do see, okay, now we're moving again, it looks like. But you do see, it looks like the guy said, no, let me get up there, let me harness you to me, and then we'll work down the rest of the way together. So, I mean, that's what we've seen. We saw him get into his belt. Yeah, get into his belt, get everything harnessed, get it hooked up, and you can see the person that's got to be the 7-year-old man, wouldn't you think? Because that's pretty big for a 12-year-old.
Right.
So that's clearly the if the information that we got on the floor is correct, that's the 70-year-old gentleman coming down, and presumably the 8-year-old and 12-year-old probably already off the tower.
We want to remind everyone that typically at this time we have wrapped up our balloon coverage and we're doing kids programming, but because of this breaking news, we are staying on the air live. We will return to kids programming as soon as we know everyone is safe and we have the latest wrapped up here.
I guess I'm struck by the brave people that are, rescue personnel.
Sure.
And
Okay, there's the other. Okay, that's another rescue person, right?
Looking up to watch the other one come down. Let's go down to the base of the tower again where David Quinlan is and see if he's gotten any more information from his vantage point. David?
Just keep me over the phone. Okay.
David, you're on the air. David,
Okay,
can you hear
guys,
us?
here. This is a live look right now from
David?
from the tower as the rescue crews are slowly trying to get the people down from the balloon all the way down here from the tower. As you can imagine, the sheriff's office and police and rescue out here, they've roped off a pretty good area. There's some crime tape right over here, not crime tape, but police tape down by that yellow line. So they've roped off a very good area just to be on the safe side. And like you said, the radio, KKOB radio, has been turned off. We've turned it on. So this is what you're hearing on the air. Just static. So as you can imagine, they've turned off everything just to make sure everything's safe on that tower. And as we speak, the crews are slowly making their way down. Looks like they've got one individual that they're talking down. And I want to show you something to my right over here. This is a chase crew. Go over here to my right a little bit. This is the Smokey Bear chase crew. And as you can imagine, their thoughts and prayers are with everyone right now as they try to get these people down. As you can imagine, some very concerned looks over there. But the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office and the rescue teams are doing an excellent job as far as securing the area and getting these people down safely. And again, we haven't heard of any injuries. So all we've been told is that these people that were stuck there are in good shape.
All right, that's David Quinlan reporting from the base of the tower. And if you're just now joining us, what you're seeing is the remains of the Smokey Bear balloon. It got caught in the top of the KKOB radio tower at about 8:38 this morning, right around 8:30, and that's when they got the call. They shut down the radio station. The gondolas entangled in the tower, and the 3 people on board then began to slowly climb down that tower. So they've been up there, almost an hour now that they've trying to make their way down. And some rescue crews have already gotten one of them on the ground. It's walking at least one other one down, and we hope to find out how they're doing. I mean, obviously they were well enough to climb down the tower, so they're probably scared and winded and tired, but at this point it looks like they're okay.
Yeah, looking at it earlier when we got the harness that the rescue person put around the member you see there, and we think that's the 70-year-old gentleman has been described as a witness as a 70-year-old gentleman. It seems to me like they go down about 15, 20 rungs and they rest, and go down another 15, 20 rungs and they rest, and they will do that to the point when they actually reach that P&M bucket that's located up there, and then he will happily go from that ladder to that bucket and then be on the ground.
670 feet is a long way down, and they made that little by little over the last 45 minutes or so. There are crews, a lot of crews on the ground waiting to help take care of them once they reach that. And again, KKOB will just stay off the air until everything is safe, and I assume until they figure out how to get the balloon off of there and the basket down.
Well,
and all
I mean,
of
I guess
that.
you can't really turn the thing back on when you know it's got all that propane on board. But see, they're moving at a pretty good clip now, so that's good, I guess. But you see, he's kind of resting and wrapping his arm around the ladder like he does, and I'm sure he's getting encouragement from the rescue person there, saying that, hey man, if you need to stop, you stop. Then when we go, we'll go.
You must feel a lot more secure now, though, because they do have him harnessed to them.
And there's 2 of them now, and so they're all umbilicaled together. So if so let's say he did give way, you got 2 rescue personnel up there that will, have him umbilical to them, and he isn't going anywhere.
Again, we had heard from witnesses, but we do not have this confirmed that. There were a couple of kids on board as well as this older
Okay, there's
gentleman.
the bucket. So they're going to be in the bucket before you know it. And so this started to play out about 50 minutes ago. We believe that the gentleman on the tower is the last one to get off. We've heard reports there's an 8-year-old boy and a 12-year-old boy, and we've seen that some of them have gotten to the bucket and got off. So I think that the kids are off the tower at this point in time, and you travel that little distance from the bucket where they're waiting to that grouping ahead as we pan northward. In a matter of 5 minutes, they're going to be on ground. So this thing will play itself out within an hour, it looks like.
Making their way little by little. Again, we can continue our live coverage. We're on half an hour later than we would typically be. We usually wrap up the mass ascension and send you on your way at about 9 o'clock and join kids programming. But this morning we are continuing to stay at the scene. This is just west of Balloon Fiesta Park. It's not too far from the river. I think it's right along 4th Street, if I remember right, 2nd or 4th Street in Northwest Albuquerque, KKOB's tower. The Smokey Bear balloon did crash into it, and we're going to continue to stay with this until we are sure that everyone's safe and we can go on and enjoy the rest of the weekend knowing that they made it down safely.
And Tom Rutherford, I know this is kind of a down note to end what's been a fantastic Balloon Fiesta, but every year Balloon Fiesta has its incidents. This is a kind of a dramatic one because I don't remember one going into a 670-foot tower before. But the thing is that they're safe. I mean, this is going to end with 3 people safe.
And a big story to tell.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Well, let's go back out. We understand that David Quinlan, who's at the base of this tower, has been able to get some more information. David?
Sure, Diane, that man there, as you can see right there, being helped down, that is the last person that was on board this balloon, and that is the pilot. And he is slowly being taken down. He is we're told he's 70 years old, and he's making his way down. It sounds like they're in good shape. The rest of the crew are on the ground, and we understand they are okay, which is great news. They are okay. Obviously, the nerves are a little bit rattled, but that last person there you see is the last person, and that is the pilot of the balloon, and they are making their way down as we speak.
David, have you been able to confirm that the other 2 people are, in fact, kids?
Just I spoke with the sheriff deputy, and he explained to me that there are 2 children. He believed there were 2 children on board, I believe 8 years old and 12 years old, and a pilot there, a 70-year-old pilot. I think that was it. 3 people, 3 crewmen.
Are they being checked out on the ground there, or have they taken them off to the hospital already?
They're just being checked out on the ground. In fact, because their injuries aren't serious, they can't take them to the university hospital without parental permission.
Sure.
So because their injuries are not considered serious, they're just being checked out on the ground, and I think they're waiting for their parents to come pick them up.
Oh, look at this. We're getting closer. Hey, but how about a journey for an 8-year-old boy and a 12-year-old boy? They're going to have some stories to tell. And you know, boy, I guess, Tom Rutherford, when you hit that tower, you're in that balloon. You're in the balloon, you're floating in the air, the sensation of nothing, right? But you hit that tower, which is your stopping point. I mean, I guess if you jostle around a lot, you can maybe even fall out of that basket.
You would think the pilot would have known at least a little bit ahead of time.
But he's telling him,
it's not like
grab
he
a
was
pole,
looking the other
hold on
direction
tight.
and all of a sudden ran into it.
But when
So I'm sure
David,
they were making
here we go,
plans
folks. Yeah, but when David Quinn was saying their injuries aren't thought to be serious, I'm thinking that the only thing that could be is you're holding on to that side of that gondola. Maybe you bumped around a
It banged
little
around
bit.
a little.
Yeah.
We have with us on the phone now our own Dr. Barry Ramo from Action 7 News, and Dr. Ramo is a cardiologist here in town, and we do understand it has been confirmed that Bill Chappell is the pilot of the Smokey Bear balloon, and that is Bill. He is 70, and he has been stopping and starting along that descent of 670 feet. Dr. Ramo, that must be pretty grueling for a person that age.
Well, I think it.
Yeah,
I think the most grueling part is he must have been scared to death when the problem happened. Although those fellows who are experienced pilots seem to have a lot of equanimity, but going down shouldn't be terribly traumatic for him if he's in pretty good shape. Most heart attacks actually don't occur when you're exercising; they occur during rest. I think unless he's got some underlying heart problem, he should be able to get down without any significant difficulty. But this is a really traumatic emotional experience for him. I think if you've ever thought about it, it couldn't be anything much scarier than hanging up there by yourself with the responsibility of, particularly with him. What are there, 2 children?
That's
Yeah,
what
2
we're
children,
hearing.
8 and 12.
Yeah, that's just terrifying. I would hope that nothing serious would happen. It ordinarily
There you go.
we don't find 95% of heart attacks occur at rest, and a very small percentage occur during stress or exercise, even though that's a common belief.
Well, he must
So,
be breathing a sigh of relief right now, Dr. Ramo, because he is in the bucket truck with P&M. They've gotten him off the ladder.
He's off the tower.
Off the tower, and he's in the truck. And
that's great. How does he look? Can you see him?
we can't tell from here, but he looks like he's just breathing hard.
Yeah. Well, earlier when he was coming down that ladder, he's coming down at a pretty good clip, and then about midway, he started taking some rest breaks, which is the thing to do. And then when the rescue personnel got up there, I'm sure they were saying, hey, if you need a break, you take a break.
He just stopped and took a big, long look up at the top of the tower going, my goodness,
God, how do we
that's
do
what
that?
I just came down.
But you got to imagine he felt better when he knew that the boys were off the tower, too.
Sure.
That's right. That's enormous emotional stress. I'm sure the biggest fear is getting electrocuted.
Yeah, they shut that down pretty promptly, we're told from KKPOB radio, because we were wondering earlier if the tower's hot or not. We were told it was hot when this whole thing started, but then we were told that no, they shut it down immediately.
Well, they must have some emergency procedures that they do, because that's very quick thinking. That could have been the real. I mean, that's really the fear that I think all of them have, is that they'll run into a hot wire.
Amazing quick thinking on the part of that crew, too, because they wasted very little time getting out of that basket and down the tower. And I'm sitting there thinking, would I have done that? Would I have just...
they're probably thinking that if it's hot, they would have been shocked by then, so might as well get on it,
No, that's exactly right, and they must have had some communication with the ground to let them know that it was safe to get out.
It's a good possibility that they had a cell phone, because they have to have communication or a radio of some sort with the ground crew anyway to come and pick them up. I mean, they stay in contact with their chase crew, so that might have been how we got some quick information.
Well, and the pilots...
I'm glad that they didn't get injured. That could have been a horror show.
The pilots are pretty well trained over and over and over again about electricity and how this works. And so I think he would have known that they weren't going to be in danger until they touched the ground.
Right.
Okay.
And so I'm sure he figured he could worry about that later.
Right.
Well, that was...
Well, it looks like the bucket truck, the bucket has reached the ground. The rescue crew and the pilot, Bill Chappell, are about to get out of that. And I think David Quinlan is still standing by live at the base to kind of give us an idea of what's happening from that vantage point. He was telling us there were a lot of rescue workers around just waiting to check out everyone once they got down and to see if there was any help. You can see the perimeter just lined by a lot of different rescue workers. David, can you hear us?
Yeah, hi, Diane. In fact, I've got Deputy Garcia, is that right? Deputy Garcia, and he's been here with all the other rescue workers, and I just heard them applaud.
Yes.
What happened?
We got all 3 individuals that were in the basket, or the balloon that was down. So we got 2 juveniles, 1 elderly gentleman who was the pilot. He was just rescued right now. That was the last clap that everybody heard. They got him safely down.
All right, and Deputy, kind of explain the situation. What all did you have to go, I guess all of you guys involved in this, what all did you have to do to get these individuals down?
Well, we set up a perimeter, got everybody back, because we were afraid that tower is leaning too much with the wind, and that's pushing the canopy down. So we're afraid that also that the basket's that's filled with propane still, that could fall down. So we have to get everybody back in case that falls or anything collapses.
How about their health and their injuries? Are they okay?
It sounds like they're okay. We got 2 juveniles that are, I guess the parents are with them already, and they're checking out the pilot right now, and I think they're going to transport him to the hospital just for precautionary measures. So, but it looks like all 3 of them are safely to the ground now.
And I understand the 2 children, this was their first hot air balloon ride?
That's what I was told, yes.
Can you imagine?
Oh, I'm glad they're safely to the ground and they're doing okay.
Good deal. Thank you, Deputy. I appreciate it. And there you have it, Diane. Just a good feeling right now because the crew behind me, everyone was applauding once they got the pilot down, and it looks like everyone is in good shape. But boy,
wow.
What a ride! It's considering that's your first hot air balloon trip, especially if you're a small child, guys.
All right. Thank you, David. Might be first and last.
Oh boy, what a story! But 1 hour ago, it all started. We had the Smokey Bear balloon drift into the KKLB radio tower. We're told that's 670 feet. Within a couple of minutes, everybody on board, and that was 70-year-old Bill Chappell and a 8-year-old and a 12-year-old on their very first balloon flight, made the decision quickly to shimmy down the thing, and they got to about where that P&M bucket was, and it's taken that long. So it took, at least for the pilot, it took him the better part of an hour to get from the top down to the P&M bucket where he's safely on the ground now.
But he is fine. The other 2 passengers are fine. A dramatic ending to our 10 days of Balloon Fiesta and to the end of our live coverage of the Farewell Mass Ascension. We want to thank you so much for sticking with us. We want to let you know we are going to be returning now to children's programming, but we will continue to bring you live breaking news throughout the day to kind of let you know how this resolves itself. But the most important part is the 3 people are safely on the ground, and of course we'll have a wrap up on Action 7 News live at 5, 6, and 10 tonight. And once again, just thanks for staying with us today.
See you at 5, 6, and 10.
This has been breaking news from Action 7 News.